Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Carrie and Dani. Feels like it's been a little while since we've chatted. I know I've been doing some traveling, and you've been busy with your long treks to town here and there and everything. But how are things down in New Zealand? It's nice and warm and toasty up here in the Midwest of the U.S. I know you've got a few layers, so because it's winter down there.
Oh, yep. This is my possum and merino jumper. We
Mm.
make possums into jumpers down here. They are so toasty warm. Sorry if that traumatizes anybody.
Possums?
Yeah, possum. Opossum. You call them opossums, I think, over there. They've got an
Or
O in front of them.
possums. Possums. I say we say possums. Some say opossums. I don't know. Anyway, well that's new information. I'll have to look that up sometime. But anyway, before we get on that rabbit trail, what do you want to talk about today, Danny?
Well, on the rabbit trail of opossum jumpers mixed with wool, and that might be traumatizing for people to think about those cute little fluffy animals turned into clothing that I'm wearing. Um, I I saw some. I must have seen something. I had a thought I wanted to discuss with you, especially
Hmm.
since you've got kids. I can't think where the thought came from. It doesn't really matter. I saw something somewhere on Facebook or somewhere, and it got me thinking. So, I used to work as a school counselor, and I worked with slightly older children. Um, I did trauma therapy with younger kids for other stuff, but when I was working in a school, the kids were generally 10 to 13.
Hmm.
10 to 12, 10 to 13 in the age group in the schools. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about when your kids were younger.
Hmm.
And my thought was, I bet, being the lovely, responsible mother you are, that there were things they were not allowed to watch on television that their friends maybe watched, and that you had some firm beliefs about age appropriate viewing of movies and what books they should be reading and stuff for kids. So, do you
Hmm.
remember much about that?
Um, I do. It's been a little while for those who aren't familiar. My kids are my daughter is almost 22, my son's 23, so it's been a minute or two.
Okay.
I had to think about that just a little bit because it's been a while, but the clearest instance I can think of how I
Mhm.
edited things for my children, not to traumatize them, is my son's absolute favorite movie, was Finding Nemo. We
Oh.
watched Finding Nemo. He would have watched it every day if I would have let him. And there were weeks, quite frankly. I mean, his little sister is only 20 months younger than him. And so I had a baby and a toddler at home. And so, for sake of transparency for survival mode, we watched Nemo a lot. However, I'm not sure how old he was when he actually realized how the movie Finding Nemo starts. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Finding Nemo, it's a super cute movie. I love it. It's actually one of my favorites, even as an adult. Um, but Nemo is a little clownfish who one fin is shorter than the other because a barracuda came and killed his mom and destroyed most of the eggs when they were developing in the anemone, right? And so that is how the movie starts, and it's scary and it's a little violent. So because of the magic of DVDs at the time, I just skipped that scene and we continued the movie. And occasionally we would skip the sharks sometimes because the sharks could be a little bit scary. So that's like the clearest memory I have of things that I just chose not to show my children because I didn't need them traumatized that early in life. Let them get a little older before they have some trauma like that. But was that some, I mean, I know that's a pretty elementary single example, but um that was one that I did.
No, no, that's exactly the sort of thing I was thinking about.
Hmm.
I guess what partly got me thinking about it too was I can remember, I can remember, I don't have a lot of strong memories from childhood, but one I do remember, and I must have been about 6 years old or so, and I'd been sent to bed quite a few times, and I kept getting up for glasses of water and, the normal kid things. And I can remember sneaking into the lounge room and peering around the corner because I wanted to see what my parents were watching on television that I wasn't allowed to see. And I happened to, and And I have this vivid memory of someone walking into a glass house and brushing something with like a little brush and shovel, and this really scary hand appearing of a dead person that was under the earth, so they'd found a dead body. Um, Terrifying to a 6-year-old. And I can remember also at one point, I was still really young, being taken. My parents went to the drive-in movies. This is back. They don't have those anymore. The drive-in theaters.
Mhm.
They haven't had those in years in Australia or New Zealand.
I've
Don't know if
never
they're still
been to
happening in the
one, but I
States.
know what they are.
Okay, I've been to them, lots of fun, but I remember going when I was a wee kid and I was supposed to be sleeping on the back seat of the car and I didn't sleep. And I can remember waking up in time to see a boat that had overturned and all the people were starting to drown. And it had a giant Christmas tree that spanned 3 or 4 stories in the dining room. And the boat was completely upside down and they were trying to climb up the Christmas tree
Mm.
to get to the other things so they didn't drown. Later discovered years later that it was a movie called The Poseidon Adventure.
Oh,
Um,
I've heard of that
don't
one.
don't ever show it to children. It's absolutely terrifying.
I don't think
Um,
I want all the cruises I go on, I don't want to see a scary ship movie. So,
okay, then don't watch it. Um, and so, but these things do impact. I can remember so I've got an uncle that makes fishing boats, and I can remember going out fishing when we were younger, and out on waves where it was breaking right over the top, and the waves were coming down over the back of the little cab and stuff, and um, they were all like, "Yay!" for the excitement of it, and I can remember being terrified. Um, and then things like my niece, if there's a thunderstorm and there's lightning, if there's thunderstorm and lightning, my niece, who's 13, but right from when she was 7 or 8 years old, there was like, there's a storm. Can we go and watch the thunder and lightning? And she'd want to go out and stand on the front deck and watch the thunder and the lightning across the sky. Whereas I always, even right through into my adult years, I can remember in my 30s, even 30s and 40s, there being really bad thunder and lightning storms. And all I wanted to do was go into the hallway in the house and close all the doors. So you couldn't see any of it because it was the only totally enclosed place where you were nowhere near a window. Because I was convinced that the lightning was going to come and strike me dead. And I was trying to figure out where some of these fears come from because not all kids have them.
mhm.
Um, Especially the lightning one. It still frustrates me as an adult that it affects my sleep and it's it's not a matter of saying, oh, just pray to God and trust he'll keep you safe and the lightning's not going to get you. What I want to know is what started the trauma and where it came from. And Carrie, you've got some great, I know you've got all the old Bible stories that you keep them. So if you've got them handy, I
Mhm.
think I think that some of my fears come from that. Um, I can remember at 16 going to a church social and we watched The Man from Snow River. I was so excited.
Oh, it's a
Um,
great movie. One of my
oh,
favorites as a teenager too. Something
oh,
about him on a horse. I don't know, man.
oh.
And the accent.
We actually at one point lived not too far from where that was filmed. Um, Beautiful country, but yeah, amazing country. The kissing scene, I can remember watching it for a big youth thing. And when it came to the piece where she's on the back of the horse and they're on the top of the hill and it's so romantic and there's that moment where they have their first kiss, they covered the screen. We weren't allowed to see them kissing. Okay, so I'm 16, I'm at church, and I'm not allowed to see two people kiss. But but it was okay when I was 4 and 5 and 6 years old to tell me stories of Noah's Ark and to think that all my favorite animals, that all except two horses, every horse in the world apart from two, got drowned and they died. And have you still got those books, Carrie? Because I remember the pictures we saw as kids when they read them to us. Look at those people drowning and dying and bashing on the side of the ark wall. These are the little books written for little kids.
And these pictures are burned into my memory. Like I don't remember a lot of the positive pictures, but the scary ones I do.
So I guess I was having thoughts about the fact that so much of what we teach kids at church, so-called religious stories that
Hmm.
we're using to raise our children up to be productive members of society with proper values and all those other things, they're traumatizing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Why are we showing kids these pictures and reading them these things at an age where we wouldn't let them watch a movie where everybody drowns and the animals die horrifically? But we show them the pictures in a storybook because it's a Bible story, so it can't be traumatizing. Oh, Carrie, I remember that picture. That is Abraham about to stab a knife into his son.
Is it? Yeah. Yep.
Um, and see, I remember doing these Bible stories. How far back can you remember? I can remember coloring in not the picture of him stabbing someone, but I can remember doing coloring pictures of these Bible stories when I was really young.
Well, I mean, these books are not necessarily for they're to be read to children, and they've got beautiful pictures, so you could, kid can sit on the lap, and but there's a little bit of rabbit trail, but these that picture was fine.
Adam and Eve in the garden.
Yeah. Yeah, they obviously don't have clothes on, but we're not going to talk about that part.
Actually, for anyone that did grow up Adventist and remembers these books, show them and honestly the front cover just to remind them which books you've got there. Is it the My Bible Friends, the blue ones, the Bible stories?
The blue ones. And this the volume number one, you could see, at least in the US, these would be in a lot of doctors' offices and things because they'd send out volume one. And I'm not this set that I have was my husband's grandma's set. The set that my brother and I had, I think my parents probably still have at their house. I don't know. But
Yeah.
some of, like, volume 10 is really shiny, and then the earlier volumes are just, they're all like a
Yes.
slightly different finish.
Blue.
So I
Yep.
think she acquired them probably over time. But ooh, and
I gave
another
them all away.
another
Um,
somewhat traumatizing picture that I remember.
that was one I wanted to talk about. Was seriously, I wonder sometimes if my fear of earthquakes come from the picture of Samson. He killing everybody when he pushed the columns apart.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that story from a really, really young age.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I'm just wondering why? Why is it we think it's okay to expose children to all these really violent stories
Mm-hmm.
when we'd never let them watch the movies?
Is it to
You might
scare
let them
us
watch
into
the
being
Bible
good?
story. Well,
I don't know.
I just, I don't know. I mean, is it not enough that you're told from the time you're born that you're evil and sinful and that you're broken and God has to fix you without actually showing you pictures and telling you stories of God killing and destroying everybody? And then going, oh, by the way, you're supposed to love this scary person.
Right.
How? Seriously, how?
And then this is at the end times, if you're not good and you're alive, this is what you get to face.
I had nightmares about that. I don't know if we've talked about this before on one of our shows or not, but
I don't
I
think we
can remember
did.
I've had nightmares. For a lot of my life, I can remember waking up in the middle of the night and, absolutely terrified because I thought God was coming back. And, there was either like, because, it talks about it with thunder and like trumpets and all that stuff. And so, you got claps of thunder and lightning type thing and all
As
the kids
lightning
running.
goes from the east to the west, isn't that how the verse goes? Every eye shall see.
Yep, I can remember absolutely terrified that God was coming back, and I'd have to actually have dreams about it. And maybe I've always wondered if it was like storms in real life, because sometimes if you hear noises at night, your brain weaves them into your dreams, the noises, so they make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember waking up in absolute panics with my heart racing because I thought that God was coming back, and I had to look out the window to check.
Mm-hmm.
God was coming back. He was actually there in the sky right this minute, and I was going to die because I was going to have to call mountains to fall down on me. I mean,
Oh,
right. That's so funny. The first thing I think about when they talk about God coming back is all the people that are bad and haven't confessed their sins they're gonna call for the mountains to fall on them because they're gonna want to die more than they're gonna want to see God. Oh, and by the way, don't forget you're supposed to love this person.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't love them, that's a sin that's going to stop you getting to heaven and you're going to want the mountains to fall on you. It's like this cyclical stories of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, I've got some friends that really like me, and it's not because I told them stories like that. You have to love me or I'm going to like pull down rocks on your head.
Right. Well, and we sing the song Good Good Father, that he's a good good father. And it's just like, okay, but then doesn't he want to spend eternity with me even if I'm a little bit naughty?
Just so you know, Carrie, we haven't discussed the rules of our friendship, and I probably should have told you a long time ago that there is an unforgivable sin that you can commit, and if you commit it, I'm never going to forgive you or want to be your friend ever again. And that sometime in the future, at a time that I'm not going to tell you about, I'm going to sit down and do write up a list of the pros and cons of everything you've ever done or said to me, and I'm going to, judge everything that I can figure out about you, and I'll decide if we want to move forward from there. I hope you don't mind and that you plan to still love me in the meantime.
Ooh, you drive a very hard bargain. And
Oh,
you're not
wait
going
till
to
I
tell me
start.
what the unpardonable sin is either, are you?
No, no, no. It's not going to tell you exactly what it is. You're just going to have to try and figure out and guess what it might be. And wait till I get started on listing off all the things that are wrong with you.
Well, and we do know that our trusted friend and mediator is not going to be around at that time.
Um, as if rabbit hole off track. I guess I just thought it was something that needed to be discussed. I thought it was something that people need to think about and be aware of. I want people to think about and be aware of with their own kids, or if they're older, their grandchildren, or any children that they maybe look after, or nanny, or whatever connection you have with kids. If you think that it's inappropriate for them to watch movies of a certain age, if you lower your voice because you don't want them to hear that you're talking about the fact the neighbor's dog got run over and you think it's going to make them sad, then why would you tell them stories of every animal dying and drowning? Why would you read them stories about a little boy that kills a giant and cuts his head off? Why would you read them stories about people that are so scared of God coming back that they asked for the mountains and the rocks to fall on their heads? And why? Sorry, why? Why would you cover the wonderful romantic kissing scene when I'm 16 or 15 or 16? But in Pathfinders, and we did discuss this, in Pathfinders, when I was 10 or 11 and 12, you've already read me the stories of the Fox's Book of Martyrs. So I've
Oh,
already read stories from the Fox's Book of Martyrs. I know because I was told at that young age that people are going to be tied up. They're going to be tied to big wooden the big wooden fires, and they're going to be burnt at the stake, and they're going to be alive as the flames lick up their body, and they're going to be screaming, God, God, save me. And he's not actually going to stop the physical pain, but they're going to feel good to know that they're in heaven and he's with them. Why would you read me those stories but not let me see somebody kiss? Oh, and don't forget that I was told, well, you must have been too, that all those things that happened in those dark ages are going to happen again at the end of time. So if I'm unfortunate enough to live in that point of time, this is what I can look forward to. And that, I'm supposed to be as good as the martyrs. Why would you tell these stories to kids but cover up kissing?
because they believe those bad stories are true, but the kissing was fiction. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, see, I
I
used
don't
to work
know.
as that's a valid thought potentially. I used to work as a school counselor, and that's another whole conversation as to what age kids start to tell fiction from friction from reality. And so sometimes kids around 4 and 5 can start to figure out, some things are true and some aren't. So they might know already by then that by 4 or 5 that Santa Claus isn't a real person. Mum and dad bring presents, but they might not. It's somewhere generally between 7, 8, and 9 they start to get a stronger handle on these things.
Hmm.
But you would never ever show a 7, 8, or 9 year old. You'd never show them a movie about an exorcism. I mean, I won't even watch the movie The Exorcist or any of those really scary things. So you'd never show those things to a kid. But we'll tell them stories about demons. You'll tell them right from when they're really, really little that yes, God exists, but so does the devil. And he is like a really scary roaring lion, and he's running around all the time just trying to get you.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we'll tell them stories about demons.
Hmm.
We'll tell kids right from scratch, and I don't know if they still do, but I remember being told from a horrendously early age, if you've got Women's Weekly is a common one in Australia. It's like a ladies' magazine,
Hmm.
and I remember Mum used to buy them and look through the pictures of the clothes and the recipes, and they've probably changed a bit now. And I can remember being told at a very early age that you're not allowed to read the horoscopes. Right? Fine. But not only are you not allowed to read the horoscopes, but if you do like look at them and have like even a half little read, even if you don't believe them, the fact that you even had a half little read means that you have opened a door for an attachment of a demon to come into your life. I can remember being taught at church that if you leave the horoscopes in your house, and the actual magazine with a horoscope in it is actually in your house, that because horoscopes and is fortune telling and it comes from the devil, that
Hmm.
demons are allowed to come into your house because you have an anchor there for them to attach to, which is the horoscope. So you need to sort of like rip those pages out before you come into the house and get rid of them and then just bring the rest of the magazine in. I don't know. I do know that Mum was never that careful, so there must have always been demons in our house.
I don't remember hearing that at all, but we
Oh, you
didn't.
missed out on the good stuff.
Oh, I guess I did. My parents were too balanced, I guess.
No,
We
no.
didn't get very many magazines anyway, but uh mm, I remember reading the horoscopes just for sheer entertainment. I mean,
No,
I guess
no.
fortune cookies were probably out for you too, huh?
I don't recall any stories about fortune cookies. I do know that some music was really bad, and if you actually even had the music in your house, even if you didn't play it, again, you were like leaving like a legitimate anchor for the demons to attach to. Like if it's there, they can come in because that's something they live in.
Because you welcomed them in somehow.
Or you had something in your house that was theirs, so they're allowed in.
Hmm.
Um, they used different words to that to explain it. It was more religious sounding, but that was clear. That was always made really, really clear. Um, and I can remember when I was in my 20s, when I was married, um, really clearly saying to my husband at the time, I don't want you playing that in the house. 20s, early 30s, I don't want you playing that in the house. I'm sorry, even I know you've recorded that movie, but you can't play it in the house. You have to delete it off the recorder because can't have it in the house. Absolutely not. And I got a bit more flexible and he was allowed to watch them, but only when I was in bed. But then I still had to explain really clearly to him that he didn't obviously hadn't read his Bible correctly and did not understand that if you have those things in your house, then you have like opened a door that you can't close without. I don't know. I never thought about how you close it. Maybe you need Jesus and some pigs to send them into. Um,
Just have a pack of bacon in your fridge. You can send them into that now and then. And
um, I was just, I don't know. I just thought we should. I wanted to raise awareness of some of the things that are traumatizing to children.
Hmm.
Um, some of the age inappropriate stories we tell kids because they're God-based Bible stories that we would never ever let them read or watch
Well,
if they were a
and
straight fantasy because it would be age inappropriate.
hmm well, do you guys do the Pathfinders in down where you guys are, do they do like the we used to call it Bible Bowl, but now it's the Bible Experience. And it's really a competition, but they don't want to say it's a competition, you know. So they're assigned a book or two or three of the Bible every year. The Pathfinders form teams of, I don't know, there's like 6 kids, and they answer
Mhm.
all of the questions. There's first, second, and third place, but it's more like a letter grade. Anyway, so years ago when I was the adventurer director in our conference, the adventurers would do the same book a year before the Pathfinders, so then they could get an edge the next year, when they became a Pathfinder.
Yep.
And apparently Ezekiel was the book that was assigned. And I, as a dutiful adventurer director, I announced it to the parents, and there was one in particular who was she was very zealous about making sure her kid participated. She started reading it, and then she pulled me aside a few days or weeks, a couple weeks later, and she said, "I'm not going to let her do this." I'm like, "Really? Like, what's the deal?" And they had assigned chapters in Ezekiel that were not sufficient. I mean, I wouldn't even want my Pathfinder age kid to study and be very familiar with them. And these are younger kids. Adventurers is grade 1 to 4, which is about 6 years old to 9 or 10. So it was just due to some of the subject matter of Ezekiel is rather graphic and not, as you would say, not suitable for work, not suitable for children for sure. And so I talked to the conference youth director who is in charge of that. I'm in a fairly small conference, so I knew him fairly well. I said, "We're not going to participate unless you change
Mm.
it." "Really? Why is that?" And I explained it to him, and he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I understand that." So I don't remember if they changed they didn't change it for the Pathfinders because this is a division level thing. The North American Division does this.
Yeah.
So it's just, do we need to censor the Bible for children?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Especially if I've just when I Googled it just really quickly and brought it up so I could check. Ezekiel 9, you've got God sending executioners into the temple and the scribes putting marks on the innocent people's forehead to save them and everyone else they kill. They just slaughter them and leave the temple full of corpses.
Hmm.
And then there's really graphic information about sex and violence for the two adulterous sisters in Ezekiel
Hmm.
16, and they're stripped, stoned, and hacked to pieces, and their children. And oh my goodness, oh,
Yeah. So
oh,
let's have
creepy.
Pathfinder age kids study this in detail and be able to answer quiz questions about it.
At 6 to 9, but you're not allowed to see somebody kissing.
6 to 9's the adventurers. Of course, Pathfinders is 10 to 14, 15, something like that. But still, they're kids. They don't need to be learning about that.
I just,
Yeah. And I think kind of I guess we're getting close to needing to wrap things up here. Um, just be mindful of what your kids are learning about. Make sure that we're not traumatizing them too early. Use wise decisions. If it's a scenario you don't want your kids learning about in the secular world, why do we want the kids learning about it in the biblical framework and theology? I don't see the point unless what I said earlier, are we trying to scare kids into being good? Like, and that's not really the right motivation anyway, it's
Not, and it impacts it, those early childhood traumas, that's when you lay down the foundations for the whole of your life.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's really hard. It's not a matter of, oh, well, they'll grow up and get over it.
mm-hmm,
It's when the foundations for it, someone's, you can change things, obviously, but it's when the neural pathways are laid and the connections are made that impact the rest of your life. It's a big deal. Um,
mm-hmm,
and so if, yeah, if you've had similar experiences and you were told inappropriate stories at a young age, I'm really sorry. If this is the first time you've even considered that some of the things that you struggle with were caused by being read inappropriate Bible stories, then I'm really sorry. Take some time to think, grieve, and drop us a line if you want to discuss it. We've got a Facebook group as well if you don't want to post on YouTube. And there is an email there also. But I really encourage you to discuss it with other people,
mm-hmm,
where other people can see there is a power in normalizing things. There is something really awesome in, even, there is something healing about having someone else say, yeah, me too, me too, me too. And it was tough, but I'm doing all right. Or I hadn't thought about it or whatever there is there. So you're not alone in any of these things. And if you have young kids, like Carrie said, please don't look at what the kids are being taught. Look at what they're being taught if they're in church schools. Look at what they're being taught in Sabbath school or any of those other places if you're still actively attending. Look at what your kids are being taught in kids' church, because traumatic stories and age inappropriate traumatic stories. Okay. Obviously, if you're teaching it to your 18-year-old, it's different. But age inappropriate traumatic stories are still age inappropriate, whether they come from the Bible or whether they're on the television.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Age inappropriate is just age inappropriate.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah. Oh well,
Yeah.
thanks for discussing this with me, Carrie. It was just one of those things that I thought, why aren't people talking about this more? Why isn't it thought about more? Why just, yeah.
Hmm.
So did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, no, not really. A quick anecdote. Let me see how much time I got. Yeah, I can make it quick.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So, one of the jobs I had as a pastor's wife, for those who don't know, my husband of 26 years, we've been married for 26 years, was a pastor for first 15, 20 years we were married. Anyway, one of my jobs was children's story coordinator for 3 or 4 years. Most of the time I just told the story. It was easier. I enjoyed doing it. It was easy, easy, well done. One Sabbath I came up and somebody said, "Please don't let this individual tell the story again." I'm like, oh, what did he do? And apparently, and I don't know, I don't remember the details. This was many years ago. And apparently, he told a story. It started out as a really cute story about a cat, and at the end, the cat goes killed. Still, the kids were just up there like.
Yeah.
So anyway, please don't traumatize children during children's story. Um, be mindful of their little emotions, their little hearts, and we don't want to mess them up this early. Adulthood will get them eventually.
Yep. So
But
if you are listening, I just want to encourage you to lean forward and hit the like button on the video. And if you haven't already, subscribed so you don't miss anything out. And share. We try to make these things, we don't get any money off this. It's just something that we do because we wish we'd had conversations like this when we were younger and
hmm
at different times in our life so we could have these things. If there's someone in your life that you think needs to hear these things, we try and keep our discussions at a point where it raises questions and it's safe for anyone to listen to. Except
hmm
maybe this one, don't play it to a 3-year-old, eh?
Probably not.
That's a joke. All right. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, and we will catch up with you all again next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.